We're on Silver and Black Pride. And once again, it's a question about Vita Vea. Vita Vea. Vita Vea. Back and forth. You can pronounce this guy's name many different ways. Data. You know. Raiders 2008 draft pick. Or pass. DT. Vita Vea. Vita Vea. Vita Vea. Vita Vea. Whatever his name is. I'm not going to get into all these different type of techniques of rushes. I've went through, his stats before, his combine stats and what he represents. And I would say it depends upon how the Raiders are going to set up their defense. It really depends on personnel and what they have to work with. If they're thinking of, Irvin is going to cost like almost $9 million this year, like 8 3/4 or whatever it is, then you have to think, if someone like Chubb, falls, Chubb looks very impressive to me. But then again, I'm not a scout. I don't know these guys. I mean, many guys look very impressive in college. If you're thinking that Irvin is just going to be unleashed, put on the defensive end, then you got to really be thinking in the first position, either defensive tackle or middle linebacker, depending on who else you acquire. There's so many things that could happen. I see openings all over the place. I see that perhaps Cook will be cut, and that the Raiders might go after a tight end. And there's many out there. There's one from Penn State. The one's from South Dakota, who catches these one-handed passes. Is that the guy? Are those the guys you want to go in, bring in for your part of your whole? Really, it's part of your running system when you talk about tight end. What Gruden wants to do, he wants a tight end who can pass block and run block. I don't know. I really don't know if those guys are that. I'm thinking. I like the guy Dallas. He's a Kelsey fan, and just the Raiders having a Kelsey type weapon is just, to me, incredible. And Cook is up there in age, and he costs $5 million against the cap. $5 million against the cap might free up room to re-sign Bowman, which would be huge. And I know most Raider fans would love to have him back. I mean, come on. The guy was a stud for the Raiders, and the Raiders defense, once he joined it, improved. Steadily improved. It can't be disputed. So it really depends on how they're going to approach the season, because also Irvin, I mean, he's going to cost almost $9 million against the cap. And they could be, if someone like Chubb falls down, that's a very curious position the Raiders would be in, because they could potentially select either Chubb or Vita Vea here, Vita Vea. And you could go either way. You definitely want disruption up the middle. You definitely want disruption on the line. I'm telling you that the Raiders' cornerbacks have not been as bad as they've seemed. It's because there's been no pass rush, except for Khalil Mack. And that is so much of a problem. as I watch this Keebler commercial. Sandies. I used to eat those. Disgustingly good. But and I think Vita Vea ate many, but he's a big, strong guy. I don't care about his arm length. It's called leverage. I have long arms. I don't have the leverage of him. You know, he's got very strong arms, chest, or whatever. You know, he bench pressed like 44 reps or something. What did it say below? It's 44. I'm not immediately seeing it. It must have happened during one of my blackouts. But he would be impressive up the middle. Van der Dost was impressive up the middle to a point, because someone forgot to tell him the guy in front of you isn't the main problem. He seemed more like concerned about the guy in front of him, that he wanted to just combat him in individual hand-on-hand combat. That was the whole thing. He didn't see the bigger picture, it seemed, at times, and he ruptured his Achilles. I mean his knee ligament, and he had to have surgery, and he's making great progress. So I imagine he's going to be back, but I hope he's learned certain things. Of course, the Raiders have to recognize when he's injured to take him out. Maybe that could have salvaged his season, or salvaged, the problem. There's got to be more communication there, I think. But anyway, Vita Vea, I would not be dissatisfied with as the top pick because of what he could possibly do. Disrupt the middle of the line, get in the backfield, make that ball carrier hesitate, and allow Irvin or Mack to stop the ball carrier. Or middle linebacker, hopefully called Bowman. Yeah. That is the ideal world. But it really depends on how things shake out. The Raiders could be thinking salary cap right now. They could be thinking, we're in salary cap hell, and we've got to start cutting dead weight. Just cut. We have to make tough decisions. Irvin might have to be cut. Take a salary cap. Take a salary cut, or even Cook. Those are the two ones that stick out to me. I don't know who else. I imagine someone like Derek Carr would be, potentially asked to take a salary cut or rearrange his salary. But, it really depends on where the Raiders are going to go. They brought this guy in for an interview. Who knows? All these guys in the top, like 20 or something, are brought in for interviews. This guy's very strong. He's got short arms, but I remember when the Raiders had a couple other types of DTs. I remember some guy named Ball, and there was another guy over the years. They're very good at disrupting the run. And it's very good for the overall defense. It's something to consider. I don't think this would be a bad pick. I would not say, oh, this is crap, we need a cornerback. You could put the best cornerbacks back there. If there's no pass rush, these cornerbacks are getting burned. I don't care who they are. You could put Deion Peon Sanders in his prime. If there's no pass rush, he's getting burned. You can believe it. So you have to consider that. Defensive line is so important. Under Gruden, when they lost to the Patriots and the Ravens, they had Darrell Russell. He was a great player when he wanted to play. He was an underachiever. That was one of the problems with him. The consensus thought during that time is the Raiders wanted, what's his name, Orlando Pace, I think his name was, the Rams selected, and they went on to Super Bowls. The offensive tackle. Raiders traded up to the second position, and they thought they were set. Well, that's what you get for trading up to the second position. You don't always get what you want. You get someone, but you don't always get what you want. You got someone who held out, and you're just like the other Russell, and just didn't always show up. It was a problem. I don't know Vita Vea, if it is anything like that. Don't know him, never met him, didn't interview him, not a lot of tape on him. If he's anything like that. But I would say he wouldn't be a bad pick at this position. But it all depends, like I said, I'll just say it over and over. I mean, there's really no way to get around that. It really depends on how they're going. We don't see everything right now. It would be nice if they signed Bowman, and then we know they're not going to go for a middle linebacker, but they might be holding out. They might be holding out on Bowman because they don't want to reveal their intentions. It's quite possible that's what's going on. Their intentions, that they don't want to reveal too much, and it's a combination of things. There's salary cap implications. There's just how much they can afford. But then again, they could be holding out information. They wanted to keep it hidden who they're going to pick at number 10. They might be thinking of trading back. And some people think he will be available later in the first round. Buffalo Bills are right behind the Raiders. Maybe they're going to trade up. Maybe one of the quarterbacks drops because someone trades up. Like, I speculated the Patriots might trade up for a left tackle. The guy from, was it Notre Dame? They might trade up for a left tackle because they just lost their left tackle. And left tackle is pretty important on a team, and the Raiders are going to find out that very soon. Left tackle might be their first pick, the Raiders' first pick. The Patriots have 2 first-round picks, number 23 and 31. They could package that together and get ahead of the Raiders. They could trade all the way up, to Cleveland or something, and Cleveland might want 3 first-round draft picks. Raiders had three first-round draft picks before. Some of them proved to be pretty good, but I think it was Tim Brown and someone else. I can't remember the cornerback, but they could be thinking in those terms. A lot could happen, and everything has not been unfolded yet. And I would not be disappointed because Raiders had a lack of pass rush. If Vanderdoes comes back, you have him next to Vanderdoes, That's pretty potent. If Vanderdoos is back and healthy, and Vanderdoos is taught that you're not supposed to like just focus on the guy in front of you. It's not a one-on-one game. You're trying to get to the quarterback. You got to learn some moves. You know, he did throw an all-pro left tackle to the ground before. He's very strong. Um, that could be very impressive if it comes about. It's a rotational type of thing with the Raiders, and you got to consider that. But a lot has not been answered yet. There's a lot of mystery out there. The Raiders have not been very forthcoming as usual. They're not gonna they're not gonna project their picks. We know they're gonna pick someone. We know probably in the first round they're gonna pick either a DT, a DN, or a middle linebacker, and maybe a cornerback. But then again, they could pick a left tackle. You cannot put that aside. Left tackle is extremely important. Donald Penn is not very reliable right now. And the people on the roster, the jury is out. So it's much more complex than just saying pick this guy. Much more complex.